$585.65. That is what I made doing Uber and Lyft. No, that is not in one day. No, that's not in one weekend or one week. That is 1 month. Now, you're probably thinking, well, did you even work in January? No, I'm kind of thinking myself, did I really work in January? Yes, I did. I worked the weekends, I worked day shift. Um, I don't really go past a certain time at night. That's my choice, my preference, and I understand that. But January is just slow in general. It's just slow. People are recovering, people may be sick, it gets colder, things happen. We had an ice storm to happen. We had a snowstorm to happen, not in our area, but all around us. So a lot of flights got canceled. A lot of trips got canceled. So the people that were coming in, they were traveling like maybe 2 to 3 hours away, driving in themselves. They weren't taking flights. And even those groups, it wasn't very many people that came in. Even our Mardi Gras parade, it was so cold and windy, and I really thought, it would be busy that day as far as, like, me picking up people, dropping off at the parade, and me picking them up from the parade, but I think a lot of people drove or, had somewhere that they were staying to keep warm because it was so cold for that parade. I mean, it was so windy. I think it was in the 30s and it felt like in the 20s or high teens the whole day. People were bundled up, keeping warm. Some people had the short skirts and everything else, and the, apparently the alcohol was keeping them warm. But they let the parade roll, and everybody had a good time at the parade. Now, during the parade, I went home for a few hours and did some laundry, ate, came back. I picked up a few people doing business, meetings for dinner, Mardi Gras balls that were going on, and a couple military people going out. But at 8 o'clock, people were not going out. They were staying in. They were keeping warm because the temperatures were dropping again, and we had like a extreme freeze warning going on. Um, we didn't have the bad weather. We didn't have schools closures or anything in that nature, which we're very grateful. But down here, when it gets, when we get ice and snow and stuff, our roads can't handle it, and people cannot even drive in the rain. So people were just staying in. If they were at the casino, they were, staying at the casino. They were eating at the casino. If they did go out, they weren't going very far because a lot of people were like, what if I can't get a Uber or Lyft? I mean, we were out there. We were in our parking lots, and it was funny seeing all the Uber and Lyft, cars parked in the parking lots waiting for rides. Um, Now I have a thing where, 2 hours, if I'm not like steady making money, I will go home. I don't like wasting gas. I don't want to turn my car off, especially when it's like that cold and I'm freezing because I want to be comfortable. I mean, thank goodness for cell phones to watch videos and stuff. I do keep a separate phone for work and for my personal use. So my phone is always working. And then if I want to watch videos while I'm waiting for rides, I can do that. But, you know, people that do ride share, they know this. They know that there's times of the year that is slow. Now, some people are lucky enough that it doesn't get slow in their area, and they're very fortunate and they make their goals every week. But for the most part, people really just notice the difference in how much they're making, and you hustle a little harder. I'm fortunate enough that, you know, my situation that I have a very supportive husband that, helps me out. And we talk about this, communication stays open about, how work is going, even the thought has crossed my mind, is this really worth it again to do? And I always come back to the flexibility of being able to take off when I want to take off, being able to work when I want to work, being able to homeschool the kids, not having to pay a babysitter, or when we want to take off to go somewhere, then I'm not having to ask a boss, hey, can I have this week off? Because we know from previous experience that I gave a year's notice for my wedding, and my boss, 3 months before my wedding, decides, I don't know if I can give you 2 weeks off for your wedding. So we're not going to play that. So I like my flexibility. So I'm going to suck it up and take January as it is and move on with February. I'm just being brutally honest. Now, later on, maybe I've been thinking about other options. I'm hoping maybe another option will come in to another rideshare service comes into our area that makes it more profitable for drivers and makes it more user friendly for passengers. Both apps have flaws. Both apps have, pros. But, you know, the competition's there. But the two competitions, they're fighting against each other. And I think there needs to be a third option out there. I see a lot of people complain on social media about, how much, these services are taken away from us. That people don't understand that a lot of times that, you know, just because you're paying, $25 for a ride, we're not even seeing half of that. And we are picking and choosing what we're taking so it benefits us. We're not doing it because, we're being greedy. It's just like they take a lot from us, and we have to be very smart about the rides that we take and what's going to be a positive income flow and what's not going to be a positive income flow. So I just wanted to get on here and kind of share with you my January experience for Uber and Lyft. February is here and we have a lot of things going on in February. So I think I'll get on here and kind of recap February later on in March and kind of share that, difference from January to February. So if you got any questions about rideshare or anything that I use to help my job better, you can ask those. If you like this type, of information, give me a like, a follow. If you want any more information, ask those questions and I'll try to do a video to answer those questions as well. All right, now I got to go get ready for work, and I hope everybody has a great day.